Travis Wayne Goodsell did it again. Have discovered another bombshell using the Joseph Smith papers. I'd already developed the theory for this, and so it's just a matter of finding the document so that I can run a test. And found the document, ran the test, and we got confirmation. But, like I told you, there will be people who will be dumb. Mormons who will be dumb, who will not get the name of the church. And so with my very popular video this time around, the church to announce millennial name change, it's a no-brainer. The church has to change their name for the millennium. They have to. Do you not understand this? You can't be called Latter-day Saints in the millennium anymore. Even if the church is true somehow and wins to conquer America and restore their kingdom, they can't keep the name. Can you imagine the Catholics being called the Catholics of Latter-day Saints? The Catholics of the Second Coming of Jesus. At some point in time, they have to drop the end of the name. And so, it's also supposed to remind Mormons that the Church of Jesus Christ is not Joseph's name for the church. And Mormons don't get it. They won't get it. They can't get it, because it means this church is false. And so they have to be dumb. They have to pull the dumb card. And then they make a comment and expose themselves as dumb. Like Tuvaka 9980. Just put a simple thing, a simple denialism. Nope, didn't change. Oh, Tuvaka, you gotta leave the church. You cannot stay in a false church. So, the bombshell. While searching around on the news to see what's going on, just checking to see if Holland's dead yet. We're in the time zone of a death for a prophet, by the way, in case you didn't know. We have 3 more opportunities for deaths of prophets. And of course, we've got the big one of Nelson. That's on its way. I've finished the chart. And so now I'm doing the pictures of every single president to then do the video for you. I guess I could do the... I'm not sure if posting it on Academia would work. There'd have to be explanation behind that in order for me to feel good about putting it on Academia. But I guess I could do it as a video, but I want to have the pictures along with it. But yeah, how else do I get you guys the PNG? I guess I could put it on Academia for you so that people can get the chart. I do have scripture notes for people to reference, and that should, but again, Mormons have to be in denial because the church has to be true no matter what. I was born and raised Mormon. I learned at a very young age from Sunday school that if the church is true, it will stand any test that comes its way. If it's not true, it will fail. So, believing that, I ran the test. Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon are true, as the learning of the Jews. And this is where we get my bombshell. Because the enemy that overthrew Joseph's church, usurped it, came to the Salt Lake Valley. Yeah, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Not the Jewish learning. Christianity is not Jewish learning. Christianity is anti-Semitism by its very creation by Constantine in 325 CE. I refer you to the first vision, verse 19. I shouldn't have to. You all went on missions. You all had it memorized, or at least you read it to investigators. You may have left that part out. But at least you knew of it, because you had to refer to it before going and talking to people about it, so that you would know when to stop reading. But nonetheless, these Danites had purposely designed to overthrow Joseph Smith's church by replacing it, just as Roman Emperor Constantine did to the Jews, with Christianity and Jesus. And so, having discovered this, I was able to identify the forged documents of the Danites pretending to be Joseph Smith's prophecies and revelations. And from that, this bombshell, which got me the death threat from the church, that landed me in the shelter because they couldn't murder me, again failed to murder me, and then got me here, barely. This was a miracle getting this place. And I'm still cautious, because now they're lying in wait. They failed to stop me before conference. This was my second biggest attendance or viewership this whole time. And only one time back in 2018 was bigger than this year, this conference. And so, for that, yay. But again, I couldn't reach enough Mormons to save their lives, or at least get them to say, you know what, I need to stop being dumb. I need to start wisening up. Because the church is trying to murder me too. They're trying to murder all of you. They're trying to hurt you. And this is the bombshell. I had broken the news stories about how the church is working with the government to cause problems here in Utah. They're rounding up the homeless so that they can exterminate them. They've been negligent on building homes that people can afford, as they keep rising the cost of living, but keeping the wages down. And so there's an ever-increasing gap between wages and the rising cost of living. And then with COVID, we saw that just expand even further as businesses justified raising their prices, and the government refusing to force the companies to raise the wages along with their cost of pricing. And lack of housing, in which this that I'm in, brand new. There are other apartments for this company, all in this area. There are several of them around the valley that I've noticed. But they're not going to be available until later this year or into next year. And this is the final year of the latter days. We know this because the scriptures reveal to us the dates of the latter days. We do know the day and the hour. Keep that in mind, because you can identify the Danites. It was Canandaigua, New York. Oh, also, Mike Lee. He was trying to get it so that we can import foreigners to the various states, and he was hoping for Utah, because he represents Utah. He wants foreigners to move to Utah, and they would be working for companies and thus be getting a higher wage. Thus, we, already living here in Utah, would be replaced with richer foreigners. And thus they would be inhabiting these newer buildings. My apartment was one of those that are based on a person's income, that the state of Utah passed a law requiring buildings to have several apartments for that end. And I was able to get the last one available. And it's unclear as to the person who's being evicted right now, if his is such the case. But like I said, there's other apartment buildings that are being built, and so there will be more of the lower income available. Mine apartment is a studio, if you couldn't figure it out from the blueprints that you can see in the background in my videos. But it's a big enough studio that I've been able to fit all the stuff that I was able to take with me, which was another fiasco if you saw those videos. And so, again, my brother likewise, apparently he's not pursuing the lawsuit against me. He shouldn't. He was being a dumbass. He was threatened by the church to lose his job if he didn't shut down my videos. And we still don't have the membership numbers yet. It's been a week after conference, still no word about the new membership numbers. And that's what those videos with Todd were all about. So now do you understand the connection? Why Todd was threatened to take down my videos? Because my videos about Todd involve membership numbers and the loss of membership. And so, yes, the church is now not bringing out the membership numbers because Todd failed. Whether he got fired, I doubt it, because he involved a lawyer. And I requested of the lawyer, his lawyer, that she protect him against the church. And she has a very popular, prominent Mormon last name. Whether that's her surname or whether that's her married name, I will not reveal, because they didn't pursue a lawsuit with me. So there's no need to bring in her and her law firm into the video conversation. But 3 weeks, 4 weeks now? 3 weeks, I think. Time just keeps on going. And so, yeah, normally people act quicker. But, yeah, I've recognized YouTube backing off a little bit now, too. They still do the tampering with the uploading, but for the most part, they realize that I'm doomed as I'm starting to flatline now. And so they're backing off. They're lying in wait. And so the church purposely doesn't really care about membership numbers. It's all about image to them. The whistleblower exposed that the interest on tithing alone at Ensign Peak Advisors is more than what Mormons put in, and every year. And so they don't need Mormons anymore. But as you can see from the news that I've been covering for you, the church has been pushing to get as much money as they can here at the end. They're threatening the missionaries to, urgently convert as many people as possible during this year. They extended the Christmas vending machine thing so that the church can make more money. And at conference, they pushed Piece of Jesus with attending the temple. Attending the temple requires that you be a full tithe payer. And so the church is purposely involved in making as much money as they can. They've been doing more business deals with more enemy nations as well, poking the bear. And so all these things are being done by the church for the one and only one reason: to purge the membership, all the snowflakes, of all the sheep, so that only the goats remain, and prepare for the destruction of America, to rise up with the kingdom. That's their whole purpose here. They are the enemy threat that the Book of Mormon warns us about. They are the kingmen. There is no Jesus. And so Jesus is not going to be getting the keys of government from Lucifer at Adam-on-Diamond. This was code. Adam-on-Diamond is the headquarters of the Danites. That's what I discovered. And so giving Putin money to cause the war in Ukraine? Yeah, because it's fulfilling the prophecy of Ezekiel 38 and the chapter heading that Bruce R. McConkie put. And so this prophecy about the bow disappearing, the rainbow, should I put that? Because I put Judas Priest for the other video, this prophecy song. Rainbows, huh? Well, we'll think about it. Where's my pen? Are you kidding me? Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. I'm not sure if we'll put that one. Maybe. We'll see. We'll get something with a rainbow in there in the description below. The Rainbow Connection was what I was thinking, with Kermit the Frog and John Denver. I think that was them, wasn't it? Or was he singing it with one of the females? Can't remember. Regardless. And so I put the whole quote that discussed the rainbow in the previous video, and I recognized there was a problem. And as Danites, they replaced the learning of the Jews with Christianity and Jesus. And so there are things that are coded that if you are not a studied Joseph Smith Mormon, it's going to go right over your head, and you're going to get fooled into thinking it is Joseph's prophecy, and therefore, oh, wow, okay, I better follow you into the desert in violation of Matthew 24. And the first of it has to do with the spirit of Elias is first, Elijah second, and Messiah last. No. This is not Joseph's teachings. He already settled all of this with the Kirtland Temple in section 110. And there's Jesus missing. Jehovah missing from this group. And if you're going to say, well, that's who Messiah is, Travis, well, then there's somebody else missing, according to the learning of the Jews, who's their Messiah, Moses. See, this is where you can expose these guys for their fraud. They're purposely leaving out Moses, because the Messiah of Joseph Smith is a Mormon in the Great and Abominable Church, section 103, verse 16, who is the man like Moses. He is our Messiah. And so it's not Jesus. We are not Christian. Verse 19, he's an abomination. And so for them to put Messiah, this is also one of their little devious coding that shows that they don't know Joseph Smith's manner of speech. They don't know Joseph's doctrine well enough. Because they do put Christ later on, but they're replacing Moses with Messiah. Messiah is the Jewish version of Christ. Messiah. Moshe. Babylonian Hebrew. Very complicated. And so that was the first clue. The other one is not in here, but is popularized in section 116, which was a forged document by the Danites. Not Joseph Smith who did that. And that's the spelling of Amen. A-H-M-A-N. Joseph Smith spelled it A-W-M-E-N. And so when you see Amen, you know it's a Danite. When you say Amen, you can be assured it's Joseph. But Joseph Smith's 107 tells us why he does not use son Amen all over his scripture, all over his works. And that's because to avoid the too frequent repetition. And it hasn't stopped the Danites by using the frequent repetition of the name Jesus, which, again, Topaku, was that the pronunciation? But whoever that was didn't understand. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints does not respect or reverence the name of their Christ. And they get that from what Christians replaced of the Jewish literature. This is why Jesus is used frequently in many apocalyptic literature stories that are now called Gospels. That's why Jesus is used. And It's Yah saves, is what it means from Hebrew. Joshua, Yah of salvation. Yah is the Hebrew God. And so because it's not Emmanuel, or Adonai, which Adonai is not a name, per se. It's technically a title, but Freud is correct that it comes from the Aten of the Egyptians, who replaced Amun of the 18th dynasty with Akhenaten and his new kingdom, which Joseph Smith talks about in section 88 or 84, where he took Moses out of their midst and the holy priesthood also. Yeah, that's Akhenaten. That's exactly what he did. And so, even though Freud would not go so far as to claim that Moses is Akhenaten, he at least considered the possibility that he was a priest of the Aten priesthood while he was living in Egypt. But again, he thinks it's literal history. It's not. And so, here's the so-called prophecy, which is by the Danites. Whenever you see the bow withdrawn, it shall be a token that there shall be famine, pestilence, and great distress among the nations, and that the coming of Messiah is not far distant. You see, they have no interest in the 8-year span of the latter days where the Messiah is here. That's the learning of the Jews. Christianity turned it into a second coming, the great day of the Lord at the final end. Now, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Danites, threw in some other stuff of his coming prior to that one great day at the end, of which redactors in the Gospels, specifically Matthew 24 and 25, had claimed that no man knows the day or the hour. And yet Matthew gives us the day and the hour, not only of the first year of the latter days, but also of the last year of the latter days. And we know this because we know that John in the book of Revelation likewise gives us those dates. And he gives us precise star conjunctions that give us precise dates for the day and the hour. Revelation chapter 12 and Revelation chapter 19. And I've done multiple videos. My number one video on this channel was me identifying those dates for you. And I did that video because the wife I had at the time demanded that I do that video, or at least give her the date, because she didn't want to walk back to Missouri, as both of us still believed at that time. I had not come across the Joseph Smith Papers document of 19 July 1840, the White Horse Prophecy. Government shall hang by a thread. It is legitimate. Brigham Young didn't publish it. Why? Because Joseph Smith calls out Brigham Young as Judas. Joseph Smith knew it was Judas and his 12 that were betraying him by calling it Christianity and Jesus, and knew that they would be angry and upset with that and seek to have him murdered. Yep, Willard Richards of Brigham Young's 12 shot Joseph in the back, threw his body out the window. John Taylor ended up shooting Hiram up in the jaw, felled him to the ground, and then Joseph Smith shot him 3 times, hitting him once in the watch, chased him under the bed. I've done those videos for you. See, I already know all of this information, and so I have full assurance that once I find these documents in the Joseph Smith papers, I will confirm. And yes, I have confirmed, because knowing that they are the threat to America to overthrow the government, they are going to purposely cause all the problems to make it happen. They're going to pay whoever they need to pay to make it happen. Just like they paid hitmen, hit persons, to murder me. I've got the receipts, but because they control the government, I can't get justice. And so this year is the final year. They've had to escalate things the last couple of years to get things going. That's why things that happened in 2020 happened in 2020, because they have dates of all of this happening. And I've gone over the videos with you, telling you that those events were supposed to happen in the specific years that they happened, because the Book of Mormon, as the learning of the Jews, was from William Morgan, who learned of this plot and was working with Joseph Smith Sr. in Canandaigua, New York. And because of his disappearance, that Joseph Smith Sr., as the Master Mason of the Canandaigua Lodge, was his duty, made sure to flee William Morgan from the country and take on the responsibility of finishing the book and getting it published. That's the Book of Mormon. Like I said, the Book of Mormon is true. Everything to this year has come to pass. It is true. But it's not mystical magic prophecy. It's because William Morgan learned of the plot. And so the Danites don't want you to know of their plot. Thus, they took Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon and changed them into literal history, so that nobody would figure it out. And if they do, they try to murder them. And another thing is they have to tell people that no man knows the day or the hour. See, it's in Scripture, it must be true. It's from Jesus. Jesus said it, it must be true. People don't think about redactors that have tampered with the original documents of the Jews that already gave the dates, but by changing it into literal history, Catholic Church, for example, doesn't see Revelation chapter 12 as being 23rd September 2017. Instead, they see it as just symbolic of Jesus being born in the Roman period time, regardless of whatever date they assign to it. But here's another tip-off that it's the Danites. Further on down, they say Jesus Christ never did reveal to any man the precise time that he would come. They're attributing this to Joseph Smith, so already you know that this is BS. And the evidence for it I put in the other video. this document was created, they even put created, on the 20th of August, 1855 through April 5th, 1856, with the handwriting of Robert L. Campbell, Leo Hawking, and Jonathan Grimshaw, Danites. They're in the valley with Brigham Young. They were ordered to add to the history. This is when sections from 1838 were put in, forged. Because you can see Joseph Smith history, 1838 to 1856, volume E1, created. Danites. And I've confirmed that with the other documents. So the tithing that came out in Brigham Young's 1844 Doctrine and Covenants? Yeah, no. That didn't come out in 1838. That's a code. And when I tell you about the history, about the failed banking system, and then the Mormon War, you would understand what I'm talking about. They purposely put certain things in that gap of time so that people can go, oh yeah, that's when Joseph Smith was out of jail and right before he went back into jail, framed by the Danites in both cases. Because that's how they do things. That's how they did it to me. So Jesus Christ never did reveal to any man the precise time. BS alert. And I'll again point out that Joseph Smith knew it, that he should come. Go and read the scriptures, and you cannot find anything that specifies the exact hour he would come. And all that say so are false teachers. They are setting it up so that when you hear my videos going over the scriptures, giving you the precise dates, the day and the hour, you automatically are triggered to say, that's false, Travis. To deny science, to deny the truth, to deny logical argument. To be a denialist. When these guys are the enemy, who have weaponized you to attack me, to keep their sacred secret from you and from others in the world. And so, again, we need to go over this for you, how Joseph Smith knew because of William Morgan, because the enemy planned the dates. And they use the scriptures to coordinate their efforts, their attacks. We start with Revelation chapter 12. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. Are you seriously going to believe this is literal history? And the moon under her feet. There are paintings about it. I've got the paintings. I've used them as thumbnails. And upon her head a crown of 12 stars. He's giving us the date, the day and the hour. And she being with child, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And then we skip to verse 5, because this reveals why or how Joseph Smith and Joseph Smith Sr., through William Morgan, knew. And she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. All 5 visible planets are listed here for this sign. Joseph Smith Revelation moves verse 5 to verse 3. They knew. They know the day and the hour of this sign. But, in case you're still doubtful, which you shouldn't, we go to the Book of Mormon. Right at the beginning of the book, Lehi has a dream, and in that dream, he sees a sign in the heavens. He was carried away in a vision, even that he saw the heavens open. Saw God sitting upon his throne, Saturn in Ophiuchus. Then he sees Jupiter, followed by Leo, with its 9 stars designating its constellation, and 3 extra planets, Mercury, Mars, and Venus. All 5 visible planets. 23rd September 2017. It does not occur at all, ever. Not before, not after. I've checked. It can't happen. It doesn't happen. This was a once-in-a-lifetime sign that John, the author of John, author of Revelation, was talking about. The birth sign of Revelation chapter 12 of all this is Isaiah's prophecy. Virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Matthew starts it off. You've got the birth of Jesus and John at the beginning of Luke to start it off. And just like John, they're all starting with his birth. Starting of the ministry. Starting of the latter days. That's what they're all about. They are apocalyptic literature of the latter days. They are not literal history. His actual birth is of a different prophecy. And I've done those videos for you too. Because section 103 verse 16, Joseph Smith says he's going to be a Mormon to save Mormons from the great and abominable church. But only if they hearken to him. Verse 40 of the second vision, of which this year is the bicentennial year of the day that shall burn as an oven. And I just did the 2-hour video on that one the other day. And so, man, this is already 45 minutes. That was not intended. And so do you see how the Smiths knew the day and the hour? And so you might argue, well, Joseph Smith Matthew has no man knows the day or the hour. Yeah, it's copying. They only added things and rearranged the order. That's what you're supposed to pay attention to. Because section 45, find it. I dare you. You won't find it. It also is a parable prophecy of the latter days. And Joseph Smith tells you in the beginning that the characters are supposed to be replaced with Mormon characters. So the Jesus character is not Jesus, he's the man like Moses, the Mormon, who will be the Messiah of Mormons. The Jews, that's Mormons. The Jerusalem temple, the Great Salt Lake temple. Thus Jerusalem, or Judah, it's phonetically the same as Utah. It's fascinating. But even if it were to be called Deseret, it just would be Deseret. It just wouldn't be phonetically the same. And so that's how you interpret the prophecies. Is we now know, because it's already happened. We know the great and abominable church. We know the false prophet. We know. And Mormons are still in denial, refusing to hearken. And there are dangers coming because the church is going to cause them and have caused them. They caused this drought to fulfill their own prophecy, which was actually their code for what they're plotting to do. Take over the government and restore their kingdom as kingmen. So, yeah, major bombshell. And the Washington Post, yeah, they technically didn't figure this out. They apparently didn't realize the church gave water to the Great Salt Lake, but they gave a ton of water. They were holding back water from the Great Salt Lake. Why? Because of their own prophecy plot to cause the drought, to purge people from Utah, to cause the economic crisis, to cause the housing crisis, to cause a water crisis, to cause a homeless crisis. All of these were plotted for 200 years, timed using the book of Revelation. Revelation 19, 8 April 2024, in case you're not following me. Angel standing in the sun on the back of the white horse prophecy. That's the date, the day and the hour, guys. It's on a Monday, and the church had planned to rededicate the Salt Lake Temple on Saturday for conference. And now it's been extended another year into 2026, or so they claim. And like the Washington Post believes, it's a miracle. Water, massive snows, record-breaking snows. Yeah, when you take a weather class, you can figure this out. I hope. I did. When the earth is tampered with, the earth retaliates to an extreme. That's one. Two, the Great Salt Lake has well been known to cause lake effect snow. It's not normal snow that would come blowing through. That's different. But there would be lake effect snow that is possible to happen. But it requires that water be in the Great Salt Lake. And with the drought, we weren't having that lake effect snow. And so when the church puts in more water, we get lake effect snow, along with the other snow that was overcompensating for the years of drought in retaliation. Thus the record-breaking snow. Like I said, the church has put in a ton of water in order for this to happen. So, yeah, you're going to have flooding though. Beware of that. Be prepared if you're going to be affected by floods. Get prepared because it's warming up quick. But that's all part of the plot. They got to chase out as many Mormons and ex-Mormons and people who are of lower poverty out of Utah. So, Again, if you're not going to hearken to the Christ of Mormons, you're going to be disappointed when Jesus never shows, because he's supposed to be here. That's the thing. The Mormon Christ, he's been here since 2017 doing YouTube videos warning the world about the church. He stood before Pharaoh's court filing a lawsuit. Let my people go. And the judges said no. So, hang on, guys. It's gonna get ugly.